A ragged-robed recluse traces ritual references on a resplendent ring, ready to rouse, a relic representative of ruthless rage from the rift. A martial master of myth gathers militias, military, and missionaries for a momentous mission, all while your local grotesque granny gathers grisly goods of grim implications, her cackle scaring through an ancient grove of grizzled gargantuan gods. These are just some examples of what one of the many awesome, flavorful D&D stories might look like. Arguably far-flung from the recent representations of unsavory applications, D&D is a game about what you want it to be, and that is life-changing. Whatever your wild imagination might conjure, D&D allows you to bring the story together with others, or just your partner, and let your character walk the world a solid, constructive, or destructive part of it. You end up immersing yourself into a story that you build, as you build yourself, throughout your own life. But what even is D&D? Slower computer game? A concerning cult of cryptic crackheads at your local game store? Well, you're both right and wrong. Dungeons & Dragons began as a funny little collaborative project derived from wargames by Gary Gygax, a nerdy author, and a ton of other people, from the 70s until today. You would build your own personal character, an adventurer who would embark on treacherous trials and tribulations of terrible and terrifying implications. Slay the local undead spellcaster that's been stuck in a tomb for the last 3,000 years? Yeah, go and do that. I'll give you 50 gold for it. I'm joking, of course, but, you know, it wasn't just that. It was an experience with many other people, sometimes up to 6 others, where one person put you in a world of their creation and told you to play that OC you made in it. You would grow your character's level, health, abilities, and allies as you progress through tricky puzzles, exploration of ruined cities of old, cunning social intrigue, or even brutal, merciless combat. The Dungeon Master, the referee of the game, would lead you along the plot as your characters take on a final villain and conclude a campaign. Now you might think that that just sounds like a more complicated video game, and yet, I promise, it's so much more than that. But why is it so special? Well, D&D has roots in strategy games, and sometimes murder mysteries, or hell, even an exploration game. But it has come to evolve into intricate storytelling, coupled with mechanics from all of those genres. And at the end of the day, those mechanics and the story are yours to do with as you wish. Where a video game always has limits in the world, places that cannot be reached, meaningless grind for the sake of bolstering playing hours, or strange AI that might T-pose its way into transforming you into a gas, D&D has none of that. You can find or make a group with a story you care about, be it something wholesome and comfy or horror and gloom in a dark fantasy world. Quickly, you find yourself participating in a collaborative effort to build lore in which your characters become gods, the beacons of light in the dark, or the evils who snuff out the light to reign supreme in a dark world. Above all, it's a game where you meet new people and bolster the bonds between buddies. You're spending all time together, interacting with characters born out of each one of your minds in a world that you are picturing through miniatures, art, or maybe even just your own theater of the mind. In this, you share unforgettable moments of all as you vanquish the villain, dread as you near danger in the plot, or genuine wholesome happiness as your fellow friends and party members throw questionable one-liners, or drink a tavern dry with their stout dwarf. Looking at the practical though, it might seem like there's a lot of mystery on how to get into the game, and while that is true, there's some simple ways to mitigate that. I know. D&D is a game with so many books. It seems like you need a class just to have fun. There's books about what a player does, about what a DM does, and about what about 100 or more adventures do. And then there's even more. And you also need dice, and you also need a group to play. This daunting, now seemingly huge, difficult to get into game. Well, this seems overwhelming and might even be a little bit overwhelming at the start. It's actually pretty simple. If you don't want to spend money, the internet has many ways to roll all sorts of dice. You can even ask Siri if you feel like it. Books aren't even necessary. But if you do want to do the minimum reading, then the Player's Handbook is for players, and the Dungeon Master should read both the Dungeon Master's Guide and the Player's Handbook to make it a little bit easier to run the game and to also give counsel to the players when they need to. Both of these books can be easily found online, and your DM might even have copies to share with you by PDF. And if you still feel like reading might be hard, there's lots of groups out there willing to teach a new player the ropes, do's and don'ts of their particular table. Just look for a group that fits your wish for a game, respect their limits, such as most groups not wanting any form of inappropriate or maybe even sad content, and clarify what you want or expect from the game. Websites such as Roll20's Looking for Group, LFG, can do just that, or maybe you can even come to your local game store and ask if they have a table for playing D&D. In the end, if you're struggling to be a player, don't forget, you can always be a DM. Forge your story with bullet points, flesh out towns, NPCs, and areas, and put the players at the center of it. Teddy has spent about 10 years playing D&D, and I think the best way to learn the game is to play it. Be honest with your experience, your limits with certain themes, and your schedule. By the gods, be honest with your schedule. And you will quickly see how this monthly, if not weekly activity can change your life with some good friends along the way. For Teddy, D&D was, and still is, a deeply personal hobby. In fact, I used to have 4 sessions of 3 hours each every week. That's 12 hours with people. Even if now I only have 1 session that lasts about 2 hours every week with my close group, I can still see that you form and you develop connections between characters and even between players. It ends up being a very safe environment where you can see how some ways of thinking or behavior can shape who you know you are. If you're shy, start with a wise character with tidbits of wisdom and comfort. Then with a charismatic character, one that uses their silver tongue to get through with performance, persuasion, or deceit. It also genuinely helps you forge your social skills. Teddy used to be a very reserved little guy, mostly up to my thing, but after lots of little interactions with party members, you open up, realize it's a game, and these people are being just as silly as you think you are being in the moment. You keep opening up, learning to be yourself through your bard, druid, or wizard. Next thing you know, you have not just understood a whole new game you can play with as many groups as you want, however much you want, but also a bit more about yourself as you tackle terrible monsters, insidious plots, or whimsical exploration in Dungeons & Dragons. And that's it. Hopefully I've tickled your brains enough for you to give D&D a try. Even if you're overwhelmed with the resources available, just join a friendly group and learn as you play. It's going to be a little bit difficult at the start, but as you go through, you're going to assimilate the rules and be as good a player as any. Next thing you know, you're 10 years into the hobby, crafting awesome characters, props, and maybe even stories of your own. And with this new hobby in tow, hopefully many new beautiful memories and moments will spring their way into each and every one of your lives. I hope that every single one of you gives it a try and get comfy as you enjoy the many stories of D&D. Make sure to subscribe, come to Twitch if you want to see more comfy motivational content from this wholesome little teddy bear. Write a little comment as well. Those always make my day a little bit brighter. And in the meantime, keep yourselves cozy, hydrated, and be well. Bye-bye.